Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the latest edition, the latest episode of the AP Film Room on the YouTube channel, the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. Appreciate you joining us as always. It is a big week in Chiefs Kingdom. We got a huge game upcoming this Saturday afternoon, 3:30 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a playoff game against the Jaguars, which does sound kind of funny, a little bit. But we're excited. We're pumped up. I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site. Caleb James joins me. We're missing Nate tonight, unfortunately, but we got plenty of stuff to talk about. Caleb, don't we? What's going on with you?
Hey man, I'm just glad to be on the show tonight. And if you'd have told me back in November, week 10, we're gonna be playing the Jaguars in the divisional round, I thought you were kind of crazy. But all it took was an epic collapse from the Titans, the Jags getting white hot, and the Chiefs winning out or not winning out, but the Chiefs basically not only losing one game the rest of their way to getting the 1 seed. Jags only lost one game the rest of the way also. These are two teams that have basically combined for one loss the last 2 months, but it's going to be a good time to check it out.
I know. No, you're right. The Jags are hot, and they came back from 27 points down against the Chargers. It was fun to see the Chargers last week. And I think we talked about it last week, but that was a matchup we kind of wanted to avoid a little bit, right? In terms of the Chargers, the pass rush. I guess let me just ask you that real quick. I mean, are you happy with how this turned out? You'd rather see Jacksonville compared to, even the Ravens. They almost pulled that off, beating the Bengals. They would have came to Arrowhead. How where do the Jaguars rank in the opponent you would have liked to see out of all the likelihoods?
With all the different teams, I was kind of like Jacksonville seemed like it'd be the best matchup. Obviously the Chiefs beat them by 10. Every game the Chiefs have played against the Chargers has been close. And I think part of me was afraid that if the Ravens did make it to Arrowhead, then Lamar Jackson might possibly suit up. That kind of made me nervous a little bit, just kind of thinking about that. But, as things turn out, the Jaguars have this just incredible comeback on their home field against the Chargers. The Chargers look really scary there in the first half. The Jags pick up a little bit of second half momentum, some critical errors from the Chargers. They go full conservative mode on both sides, and really Trevor Lawrence started playing one of his best games. Doug Peterson made some great calls, but all in all, I'm more comfortable with this one. That doesn't mean I'm not like a little bit nervous about the Jaguars, because the Jaguars have talent. When they were here on that 3-7 record, you figure same old Jaguars, but something happened. Doug Peterson, that instead of when they fell to 3-8, that team didn't die. Some teams may have been packing, getting ready to go on vacation, and Doug Peterson had those guys ready to fight and scratch their way out of it. They've been in the playoffs for basically a month now, and now they've got it. I've got some of the film. I'll pull it up here real quick. But really, for me, one of my key matchups is the Chiefs defensive line versus the Jaguars offensive line.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, bring that up. Let's get into the film. That's what we do here. We talk film. We don't just talk. We watch the film. We get the X's and O's going. So, Caleb, lead us off, man. I think you're gonna talk about a very key matchup in this game.
Very key matchup. Now, if you look up on my screen on the right side, it's no surprise Chris Jones, he should probably be the defensive player of the year for the NFL. He's not, because he doesn't play defensive end. But really, you look on the right side, you got Dunlap and Jones going against Brandon Sheriff and Jawan Taylor. And, it's pretty hard to argue with the result there. They just swarm them. This isn't anything special. The Chiefs aren't doing anything too funky. They've got – looks like George Karlaftis on one side, and they got Mike Dana head up on the center here. So, they're making it to where the center can't quite slide over to help protect on Jones. But you see at the snap, Jones is off. He hits him with a big swim move. He's going to penetrate. Travis Etienne doesn't really want any part of it. Jones is penetrating. Dunlap, of all people, the old man, has bent the arc here. Now, Trevor Lawrence doesn't even really see him because he's so focused on Jones, and they just smoke him. They both get him. Looks like George was fighting his way in through there also. That's the matchup to watch. The Jaguars' offensive line has not been good this season. You watch all these games that they've played in, and here, this isn't the Chiefs, But this is the Titans. This is basically the first playoff game the Jaguars had, this win or go home AFC South title game, basically. And you take a look on the right defensive tackle there. It's Jeffrey Simmons. He's a second team All Pro. He was not 100% in this game either. He didn't have any sacks, but he's still able to, make Trevor Lawrence throw the ball quick. This is on third and 16 or third and 17. And you watch, they got a slide protection to him, but he's busting in. He blows past the center. Their center, Luke Fortner, he's on the injury report this week also. He's not been 100%, but just straight power. He gets by there. And, and I think of all the players, I know Jeffrey Simmons and Trey Smith were on beef watch there, but he is one of the more comparable players in the NFL to Chris Jones. And you see the week 10 to week 18 jump, they really still didn't have an answer for an elite interior defensive lineman, even in this game. Teair Tart winning that rep very easily. He's a secondary guy for the Titans, not a secondary player, but he's one of their guys that when they win, they really need him to, step up whenever they do double team. This is interesting. Another look that Tennessee gave them, So they got 5 down defensive linemen, and you see the reason they do this. You see Simmons there just to the left of the center, number 98. He is getting ready to smoke the guard. He's working his way in, and Trevor Lawrence has to throw this ball a little off, almost a touchdown. It ends up being an incomplete pass. What's the reason why they're doing this? Why is Mike Vrabel putting 5 guys in, with their hands down in the dirt here? He's trying to get the ball out of Trevor Lawrence's hands fast. He's not trying to give up anything deep, and he's trying to get Jeffrey Simmons that one-on-one. Just like, because you see when you line him up one-on-one, he's going to beat a lot of guards, even good guards. You saw him battling there with Trey Smith and Joe Tooney the entire game when they played the Chiefs. He's going to beat a lot of guys regardless, just because he's a bigger, better athlete than them, kind of like Chris Jones. Mm-hmm. Spags, I wouldn't expect to see Spags go to any kind of looks like that with 5 down linemen. But you look, what does Spags do? Well, he's going to walk up some linebackers, and he's going to give the illusion that he's blitz. Because when we come in here to this play, you'll see Nick Bolton looks like he's going to go. The Chiefs have 4 guys on the line of scrimmage. Chris is obviously out in that 4-eye, almost even a head up 4. Nick really looks like he's going to be going from the mic, and it is. The Chiefs bring 5. And really, the Trevor Lawrence does get this pass off, but look how close Chris Jones is affecting this throw. And you say, oh, he completed the pass. It's first down. Well, if you went back and looked at the time, down, and distance and situation of the play, the Chiefs are up about 17 points with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Spags' philosophy here is get the ball out of his hand quick, make them work if they want anything, make them go the distance of the field. And we can kind of see some of the other guys. Dunlap gets a pretty nice little push here on their Cam Robinson's out. They've got Walker Little is going to be in there at left tackle for them. And here's another play, and this is something that the Jaguars started to really do. Trevor Lawrence is like 6th in the NFL in play action. Play action.
Yeah.
They've just spammed play action passes. I'm sure we can touch on that again here in a little bit. But look at Big Teair Tart. Why are they going this play action this way? Well, Jeffrey Simmons is lined up on the right side in the 3-tech there. And, Big Teair Tart, he's lined up as the nose here. He's going to return back. Just blows him through the gap with his speed and quickness, and it's an easy sack on Lawrence. They're looking for it. They know it's what they like to do in a lot of situations. Good situational awareness to not just think it's going to be a run, but to keep getting back. And then, the Chiefs, they have another guy kind of built like Teair Tart, a bigger guy, moves like him. This is Colin Saunders rushing against him. Does a good job, beats the same guard, basically. It's not a play action pass or anything, but still, you got to have these secondary guys on the defensive line. You got to have your key players, your role players. You got especially the role players this week, because look what the center and the guard are doing to Chris Jones over there. That's a double team. It's going to be hard to get by him, but Colin Saunders, he's quick. He swatted the hands down. He swatted him down pretty good, and he makes the guard end up having to turn his shoulders. He turns his shoulders right there. And he's going to get beat. That just cuts the angle down. Everyone else is rushing too. Trevor doesn't quite like his read. Chris Jones was there with his hands up, maybe made some impact. So Trevor thinks I'm going to step up and run. And Colin Saunders brings him down for a sack. Just a nice overall play. And this was something also, I don't think the Jags offensive line handles movement very well. They don't really handle blitzes too well. This was a little blitz that the Chargers show them. Vanoy drops, it's kind of like it's just an insert with a drop, basically. It's nothing really, there's no real rocket science behind it. Murray is just going to end up coming in, and really it's still a 4-man rush, but look how the center, he doesn't really see it at first. You take a look at him, and he's kind of sliding to the right, but he's trying to keep his eyes to the left. Their 69 is completely overset the play also, and now they've got him in kind of a bad spot because he's 69 is off balance. ETN is kind of there. ETN's been okay in pass protection, but he still leaves some to be desired. It forces Trevor. Joey Bosa's coming wide, and Trevor knows it. So he steps up, and Sebastian Joseph Day's going to end up hopping on him also just because he was right place at the right time. And let's see. I don't think it got one of the clips that I wanted to I'm going to try to pull up one more clip real quick because there was one that I had kind of in mind that I thought would be something that we'd have to look at. And when I talk about role players, I think that when you talk about George Karlaftis and Mike Dana, those are two guys who, as role players, I think we have seen them really step up. Dana has had 5 sacks on the season. Karlaftis has been so hot, finishing the year with 6. You see him on the right side. But look, we saw early in the game, they had to pay a lot of attention to Chris Jones and Dunlap because those guys were smoking them. So we can assume this is where the slide protection is going to be going, meaning Dunlap and Karlaftis are going to get the 2 big-on-big blockers. 79 looks like he wants to slide to help, but he's so nervous with Jones there, he doesn't want to just vacate because then Chris could win real easy to the inside. So it's just a tackle in stunt. Dana's the penetrator. He splits the guard. The tackle doesn't get him off to help the guard. And George gets to the A-gap, and they get a little tip of the ball. Bad pass, incomplete, almost intercepted by McDuffie. Real tight coverage. No, I don't even think Trevor really wanted to throw it there, but you just keep going back, and you can kind of see. You take a look, and Dana just does a good job because really on this kind of stunt, the whole job of the defensive tackle, and he's in like a 4-eye also, he is going to step in. He needs to just blow up the inside shoulder of that tackle. And really, he needs to try to split those guys. George does a good job of looping in, gets his hand on the ball, swats it down. Lawrence, I mean, these are going to be 2 of the guys who I think are going to have to be key role players in this playoff run. There's no real guarantees with, Frank Clark because of his health. But really, you've taken a look at that combination of Karlaftis, Dana, Dunlap, and Saunders. Those are going to be the guys that have to step up because at some point Chris Jones is going to get double teamed. I think we could expect to see that heavy this week. And Chris Jones takes a lot of criticism, but I just don't think people always understand that whenever they take him away, someone else has to be the guy to step up. One of those guys I just mentioned, it has to be.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. And you mentioned the Jaguars' shaky offensive line. They ranked 31st in ESPN's team pass block win rate this season. And you're right. They are down their starting left tackle from the beginning of the season. That's one thing, Caleb, I noticed about the Chargers game is Walker Little actually did a pretty damn good job against Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. And actually both tackles kind of protected pretty well. So, they may be playing a little better than maybe they have all season, but let me just ask you one more question before I move on. Is it enough, I guess, the Jacksonville offensive line, or is it enough to say if the defensive line doesn't maybe not dominate, but really impact this game, it's a disappointment? Or should we really have high expectations for the defensive line this game?
I think this week we should because you see the tackles playing well, but really their interior has been very disappointing. They're paying Brandon Sheriff a lot of money. He's been beaten multiple times in multiple games by big time rushers like Simmons, like Chris Jones, their other guard and their center. They're just kind of like journeyman guys. So yeah, they've got like the 2 pieces of your offensive line that you really want to have solidified there. But fortunately for the Chiefs, they are really good at exploiting the interiors of these teams. And Spags, with his simulated looks, he's going to be able to get those situations to where he puts a certain guy in space that he likes and he wants them to be one-on-one.
Yeah, no, I think you are right. I think the one thing with the offensive line is that, the blitzing is going to really affect them. The Chargers don't blitz much. The Chargers are, they kind of like to just keep their back end, fruitful and let the pass rush do their thing. But that's going to be a key matchup, man. I'm glad you highlighted that. I'm actually going to kind of highlight the same thing on the other side of the ball, because I do think, if the Jaguars want to win this game, want to hold down the Chiefs pass offense at all, they're going to have to do it with their pass rush, because it's really going to have to help their back end, which I will get to a little later. But, it's really the pass rush. And I want to highlight especially what they do on third downs at first, because what they like to pull the old NASCAR package out. They'll get 4 defensive ends on the field. You'll see from left to right, we got Trayvon Walker, the number 1 overall pick this season, the defensive end from Georgia. We got Dewan Smoot. I honestly don't know which one it's pronounced. Apologies, Smoot, but he is a very good player and a defensive end, a reserve defensive end, but comes in on rush downs, right, on third downs. So does Arden Key, a backup defensive end. He will come and rush from the inside. And then the other starter is Josh Allen on the outside, who I do want to note played exclusively over Orlando Brown Jr. in the first game, did not take a single snap over the right tackle. And Brown did a pretty good job against him, handled him very well. I do think the ways Josh Allen wins are kind of the ways Brown likes to deal with rushers, right? He's not the quickest, twitchiest rusher. He likes to win with length and power. Well, hey, that's what Orlando Brown deals with well. So it is it is a good matchup in that sense, but it's really that the creativity, or not the creativity, I should say, but just the juice from having defensive end rush against these guards. Yeah, Joe Tooney's doing his best, right? But he's getting walked back and getting into Mahomes' lap and forcing him to get out of the way. And same with Wiley here. It's going to happen, man, on third downs, because these guys, our defensive ends, do have juice, and they really like to go to it pretty much any third down. I'm going to roll a lot of these clips here that are all. This one actually has a blitz attached to it. And this is a great play by McKinnon. I feel like I think we highlighted this the first time we watched this game on the AP film room, the block here by McKinnon. But just look at how they overload one side and create one-on-one matchups. Kind of something you were talking about on the other side of this matchup. One-on-one with Creed, one-on-one with Joe Tooney, one-on-one with Brown, all defensive ends. And that's just gonna create some havoc, man. I mean, they do a really good job here, but it also singles up Wiley on Trayvon Walker, and so. And they do a really good job, McKinnon and Wiley trading off. But it's just going to create a lot of maybe, even if it doesn't create sacks, even if it doesn't create, quarterback hits, it's going to force Mahomes out of the pocket and force, a little bit of movement and stuff and a little uncomfortable throws. Here's another example. Trey Smith's doing as well as he can, but he's one-on-one on an island against a defensive end. That's not what Trey Smith is paid to do, right? He's paid to be a guard. You're not expecting him to have to win against a defensive end pretty much like he's lined up at right tackle, right? I mean, that's what that look gives him. And so he does his best. And so that's just where Mahomes is going to have to help his interior offensive line. I believe, I believe obviously the interior offensive line is very, very good. We all know that. But the emphasis here is just that defensive ends are a whole different animal, man. Having to deal with them again. Here's Tooney one-on-one on an island against Arden Key. Arden Key is a very twitchy, athletic. He can bend around the edge. I really liked him as a prospect. Yeah. I think I'm glad he's kind of found a niche role. He was with the Niners last year and was an inside rusher, just like he is with Jacksonville. But it's just it's third downs, but it's gonna be a really important piece of this is helping his pass protection, Mahomes, by just understand that there's going to be some uncomfortable throws. They throw in a lot of, here's another kind of look where they're standing up, right? They're all standing up and they're going to twist here inside. And it does, it creates an uncomfortable throw, but Mahomes helps them by getting rid of it quick and everything. So yeah. And this was kind of a blast from the past. I totally forgot. Prince Tega Winogo had to play this game. Wiley got hurt in this game. So, that's one thing, Wiley wasn't even able to finish this game last time. So he'll be available and good for this. But so that's where I was talking mostly about the interior there, but I really do want to make sure I highlight the edge rush and how important that is, because like I said, I do think Orlando Brown matches up well with Josh Allen, but Wiley is going to have probably some issues dealing with the constant power of Trayvon Walker. He hasn't been that impressive this year as a prospect, or as a player, I should say, production-wise and everything. But he's young and he's gained steam as the season has gone. And again, the way he wins, he's just going to be a mauler. He wants to just, bull rush you, get at you, because he's just kind of a freak athlete, maybe not the most refined player right now. Well, that's going to, that's something that Wiley maybe, he's going to have to get some help with, just so he doesn't, the pocket doesn't get collapsed every time on that side. But another thing I wanted to, on the flip side of the third down pass rushes is the early down pass protection. When they do have actual defensive tackles on the field, so they're starting defensive tackles, bigger guys, guys that are expected to stop the run, because they are a 3-4 base front. So they have a nose tackle and deep, 5 tech defensive ends. But they, the Chiefs have obviously forced them into a lot of nickel packages where, they're not going to be in that odd man front. But the thing here is the defensive tackles on early downs really give no penetration. And so that's where I think a key thing in this matchup is the Chiefs, maybe not, I think we talk on here a lot about, hey, trust the run, rely on the run a lot. This might be a game where you do drop back on early downs, quite a bit just because you're avoiding those third down packages where they have all those 4 defensive ends. Look at the time and the ease that the interior offensive line has with those D tackles on these plays. And Mahomes is just able to sit back there, and it helps the offensive tackles too, right? Because if Mahomes has an ability to step up, the offensive tackles, they can get beat around the edge a little bit. It won't matter as much. And just, this kind of cut out on me a little bit, but you can just see that he's just sitting there and just has all the time in the world on early downs. So
got a window.
I think that's a big part of this. Do you have something to add on that? Because you can go for it, man.
I was just going to say real quick, it's almost funny. You say we should pass on the early downs, and I agree with that. If you're confident in your guys and you got Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game, pass. Right. But if you get to like third and short maybe real quick there and they put 4 defensive ends on the field, I'd maybe run into that or see if those guys want to go maybe, you can run your power zone and really catch some guys, try to get upfield with that. Maybe rush it a little too far upfield, and there might be a seam opened up in the middle when no one's expecting it. But that'd be something, maybe it'd be an interesting counter if they maybe look for a draw or something in there.
That's a great point. No, yeah, because I think they like to still do it. They'll risk it on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, really want that pass rush kind of, especially against a team like the Chiefs who, the Chiefs are a very high volume team in short yardage this year, especially just because it seems like they're not very successful running the ball in short yardage. But I like that, man, because, yeah, you're right. These defensive ends are a lot to deal with as pass rushers because, again, we mentioned they're defensive ends. They're used to being on an island against the player. In the run game, they're not used to being inside and dealing with a Creed Humphrey and a Trey Smith firing off and really just taking them and getting the leverage battle and all that. So that's a really good wrinkle to this game that, we can see absolutely. I'd like to see if, I didn't honestly look and see how often they go to it in 3rd and shorts. I'd be curious to see if they still trust it a lot in those 3rd and shorts. But the other thing I wanted to highlight here before we get out of here is just the Jaguars do, and I actually talked about this on AP radio tonight, Jaguars do have some youth and inexperience in the back end, man. They're linebackers, 2 of the linebackers that play the most. They have a veteran that leads the linebacker group in snaps, but the rookie linebacker, first-round pick, Devin Lloyd, he's a rookie, man, and the Chiefs exploited him last time quite a bit with these Kadarius Toney, plays and jet sweeps, and there's other plays getting him vertical or horizontal to the sideline. But just look how long it takes Devin Lloyd to react to where Toney's going. That's the kind of stuff where, you need to react quicker if you want to have any chance of getting an angle on this because he gets completely blown away, has no angle, doesn't even touch Toney here. And Wiley obviously gets a great angle on him because he's so slow to react to it. I think the Chiefs, and the Chiefs love to attack like this, right? They love to attack sideline to sideline, get these linebackers and safeties moving sideline to sideline. Here's another great example here. It's a play action fake. He's coming across the formation. I'll get you the end zone angle. Again, it's just kind of the same thing. And then this is a hard play for any linebacker, but he just commits too hard and oversells, and he's not able to get an angle on him. He gets beat, right? He misses the tackle there, and so this is going to be a big matchup here. Exploiting the rookie linebackers. Here's another good example, and this is actually something they like to do in the red zone a lot. We touched on actually last week, but here they know they got man coverage, right, and they know that he's got him. And so all these crossing routes, they're getting in Lloyd's way, and it allows McKinnon to just pop out of the flat over here and have a bunch of space to gain a bunch of yards. So I think it's a big thing, taking advantage of the rookie linebackers. Because I only highlighted Lloyd, but Chad Muma, who was I think a 2nd or 3rd round pick, pretty good linebacker, but he's also a rookie, and he plays in the dime defense. He's kind of their Ben Neiman, and maybe not in that bad of a way, but he's kind of their exclusive dime linebacker. Alua Khan and Lloyd come off the field. So yeah, it's a big matchup there with the Chiefs. They like to exploit linebackers. They like to exploit safeties. This is a team that doesn't really have like great playmakers at those spots, to be honest with you. And so I think as long as the Chiefs can neutralize that pass rush, like we talked about, they should be able to exploit this back end. What do you feel about the Jaguars defense and how the Chiefs offense, just overall thoughts on how that matches up?
This is a game that we kind of expect Patrick Mahomes to go nuts in. That's why I think more people aren't talking about it. But that youth and inexperience in the Jaguars, back end and in their linebackers, that's the kind of stuff that Mahomes and Andy Reid have preyed on in the past. They
Exactly.
want to look to take those crossers where Andy looks to make those adjustments. I thought it was interesting though. Last time we did a film session, we saw the Kadarius Toney outside, jet revert or jet sweep game, and the Chiefs ran it with an outside zone kind of motion. That play with Wiley was more like a traditional option type setting. Now the Chiefs have two different ways they've run that on film. So if you're Jacksonville, you're sitting here, you really have to kind of be like, and Doug Peterson knows it better than anybody. You've got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes coming off of a bye week. They've had a whole week to maybe and dissect you. Kadarius Toney's had a whole 2 weeks extra to learn the playbook even better. So you might be getting ready to run into a buzzsaw. And to be honest, Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, they took some big hits the last time they played. There's a little more intensity in this game underneath things than I think a lot of people may be talking about in the media. The Chiefs aren't the kind of team to physically like retaliate against another player. The Chiefs are the kind of guys to come out and throw 10 balls your way, and Mahomes has like 100 or 100% completion rate. So it'll be interesting to see if they can take advantage of some of that aggression and youth that the Jaguars do have in their secondary. I think maybe if the protection is there, like you said, maybe be ready for some early down, deep shots on those guys.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. Yeah. No, that's 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. You were the one who kind of brought it out on Twitter. The first one I saw talking about. Yeah. I mean, that was a big deal last time. MVS had words after the game. I think multiple players. I think Mahomes even was saying. I'd have to look back. I think I actually covered. I think I actually wrote a post game article about that Juju hit. So I'd have to go back and read what I wrote about that. Because yeah, I think especially because in the NFL, I think teams really do like to, find motivation, find things to really fire them up. And, you know, you kind of were hinting at it, but yeah, this game doesn't really, on the surface, doesn't feel like it has a lot of like bad blood intensity. Doug Peterson and Andy love each other, that kind of, I mean, but that thing is exactly what the players will be talking about to get them fired up. And I think even the coaches will buy into that a little bit. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's going to be a big thing. It's a big game, dude. I'm pumped up. I'm excited. Caleb, you got any last thoughts on this game heading into it, and just final words as we sign out here?
Checking the early forecast, think we might have a little bit of snow, a little bit of cold, wintry mixed type weather coming in. I feel like that might favor the Chiefs. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is being a Florida guy playing college football in South Carolina. If he's experienced too much of this, the Chiefs, I think they can probably make do in any kind of weather conditions. Travis Kelce, Cincinnati, Ohio guy, or Cleveland Heights, Ohio, whatever it is. He's used to this. I'm going to go ahead. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I'll go 31-17. I think it'll be kind of close early, but I think we see the Chiefs pull away late, kind of like how they did. And, I think it's going to be a little bit more of the opposite of the first matchup with them. I think the Jags come out with a lot of juice, but really, I think, you like to beat your friends. I think Andy's going to want to beat Doug Peterson. I think the Chiefs will have some, a couple of things to show off, to really let the rest of the league know what's coming for them the rest of the way in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. The forecast definitely absolutely favors Kansas City. I think that is a key thing to this too, and something that is definitely going to factor in. And you kind of hinted at this earlier, but the Jaguars are kind of on their third straight playoff game when you consider that Week 18 game. That's a big deal compared to a team like the Chiefs that have kind of been, the Week 18 game, was definitely a big deal, but they kind of got that out of the way early. They kind of got a lead there, kind of got able to coast that second half of the game. Then they got a bye week. I mean, there's definitely something to that factor, that difference between them. And so that's why I'm kind of with you. Yeah, I think the Jaguars could come out, kind of early, make a statement, but they might just run out of gas, man. They played a lot of intense football over the last 3 weeks. The Chiefs have been well rested, and probably that's going to turn, show up in the second half, I would say. So I don't have a score prediction for you yet. I think 31-17 sounds good, but I'm not going to steal yours. I'll wait for the article. I'll wait for Pete to bug us to drop it in the article. So. No, good times, Caleb. Good times. I'm excited for this weekend. Hope everyone is too. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening to all of our Arrowhead Pride content. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to build that a little more. And just continue to follow all of us at arrowheadpride.com on Twitter. You see our ats there. Appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next time.